Mrs. Quay, Ms. Webster, administrators, honored guest parents, relatives, staffs, friends, and the members of the class of 2016. I am honored and humbled to speak to you today. We are gathered here to recognize your past accomplishments, to celebrate this moment here, and then to peer into your future. And it is a joy to share this moment with you, as I have come to know you well these past 4 years. And although we are a generation apart, I have found that we do have a lot in common. Like you today, 34 years ago, I was listening to speakers. There were two at my graduation. One was a congressman, the other was a convicted felon. The difference between them was one was convicted. You ended up with me, just a teacher, but at least I haven't been convicted. Yet. However, I probably shouldn't have graduated high school. Fortunately, I was a beneficiary of the social experiment in education called esteem building. The premise being, if you feel good about yourself, you graduate. You too are part of the social experiment in education called later start times. The premise being, if school starts later, you won't be late for school. Well, congratulations on setting a record for tardies this year. And our similarities don't stop there. Like some of you, I wasn't a great student. My GPA was a 2.64. Raise your hand if you beat that. That's pretty humbling. I wore canvas, Converse, Chuck Taylor All-Stars. You wear Chucks as well. I listen to Earth, Wind, and Fire. You listen to Sippin' on Fire. James Taylor, Taylor Swift. Night of the Living Dead. Walking Dead. Although watching your faces immersed in smartphones as you aimlessly wander the halls makes me feel that the zombie apocalypse has already arrived. My favorite TV show was All in the Family. Yours is Modern Family. I listen to funk music. You watch Jake Funk score touchdowns. I grew up with right turn on red after stop. You have swipe left. Common sense was a big part of my upbringing. You got stuck with Common Core. I hit a nerve. Good. So you see, although your histories and mine don't repeat, they share a rhythm, a rhyme, an echo. And as I sat there listening to those speakers at my graduation, my mind started to wander, and I wondered. And then I began to worry. I worried about what would come next. Up until that point, most decisions were made for me, but now I was an adult, and I would be held to account. This unknown future was unsettling and intimidating. What was I going to study? How could I pay for it? Would I disappoint? And what was the purpose of it all? In short, what was the meaning of life? Probably the biggest philosophical, religious, scientific question of all time. And yes, I really was thinking about this simple question. What was the meaning of life? But simple does not equate to easy. Many have tried to answer it. Some, like Nietzsche, take a negative view, while others are positive. Some say it involves the examined self, while others insist that life has no meaning. Curly, from the movie City Slickers, simply puts it at just this one thing. There are probably 1,000 versions of it being spoken this spring in commencement speeches across America. You've already dealt with its various and simpler iterations this past year. For instance, FIFA or 2K, yoga pants or not, to Jimmy or not to Jimmy or Jimmy Cone, and Friday night Netflix or go to Daniel's. Some of you shouldn't be laughing. Some of you also think you have figured it out, this meaning of life thing, and that you are now a supremely learned and sophisticated person. The fact is, after 18 years of existence, 13 years of formal education, and a few more of experiential learning, you still don't know the answer. Actually, you really don't know much at all. Sure, you have lots of information and have even more at your fingertips. You have some knowledge of processes and philosophies. You know the Pythagorean theorem. You have memorized the periodic table. You can write a persuasive speech. pues hablan un poquito de español, and maybe even know where we, the people, comes from. But outside of that, you really don't know anything. You see, to answer this question, you need to be wise, and you are not. You may think you are, and this is an affliction known as the ignorance of arrogance, but you are not. You have information and some knowledge, but you do not have wisdom. The dictionary tells us that wisdom is knowledge of what is true or right, coupled with just judgment as to action. It's the ability to distill information and knowledge into right choices. And then, when you have arrived at the right choice, do you have the courage, the fortitude, the character to act on those choices? So how do you get this wisdom thing? Simple. You build wisdom by living. But once again, simple does not mean easy. You have to live purposefully. Wisdom is not something bestowed. It is a process. It is earned. Whether you go to college, to work, trade, or the military, you need to always seek the truth in things. So explore, listen, think, train yourself to think objectively. Look to history. I had to put that in. Study it. Grow from it. Claim this inheritance that has been given to you by those that came before you. Have beliefs. Have strong beliefs. But make your beliefs fit facts. Don't choose facts that fit your beliefs. And question. Question everything. Don't complain or whine, but question thoughtfully and honestly. And in doing so, you will make mistakes. Admit the mistake. Learn from the mistake. Don't make the mistake again. And as you do these things, you'll learn that the world is not as you thought. You'll become aware. And just as ignorance is bliss, awareness may breed frustration. Don't succumb to it. Get wise without getting bitter. Next, will you have the courage to act on this growing wisdom? As Abraham Lincoln said, it is not so much a question of knowing what our duty is, but having the strength to do our duty as we know it. This is called character. So how do you build this? Well, think of yourself as a tree, and your character are the roots. The stronger your roots, the healthier the tree, the easier to withstand the world's winds. So build your roots, build your character, not by trying, but by training. You do this by looking to your roots. Look to those before you, to those around you, to the past. Look to those who made the hard choices when they could have easily taken the easy route. Look how they behaved. Imitate those that made those long choices, those unpopular choices. But most importantly, look to your parents. They gave you life. They, more than anybody, want you to grow and become the best version of yourself. Help them help you and listen to them. They may be old, but logic and math teaches us that they too were once 18. They understand what you're going through. And after the ceremony, when you may decide to ask them for money, and now's a good time to do it as they should be in a giving mood, ask them for their thoughts and give serious considerations to those thoughts. So what does wisdom plus character look like? 10 years ago, I organized a student trip to Mexico. One of the students there found a very, very valuable diamond ring outside a bank in a town called Merida. She asked me what she should do with it. I advised that it was her choice. She thought for a moment and then said she'd give it to the bank teller and hope that the owner would come back looking for it. I suggested that the teller might just keep it for himself. Her response: I may not know whose ring this is, but I know it's not mine. Instead of keeping it, she turned it in. So here I was, a supposedly wise teacher, being humbled by an 18-year-old Damascus high school student. So this brings us back to the question I have pondered my whole life and I presented to you 5 minutes ago. What is the meaning of life? And the answer, I don't know. And that's another thing we have in common. But it's okay not to know. Be wise enough to know that you do not know. But know this, life does have meaning. Every time you breathe, every book you read, every sport you play, every relationship you build, every thanks you give, every smile you make and every hand you shake. In short, every time you thoughtfully act, every time you try to honestly better yourself and your fellow man, every time you act with love and charity, you are giving value to life. And the more you give value to life and all it holds, the more your life will mean to you and to others. So in conclusion, we see that the great irony of wisdom is that the truly humble are the wisest of all. This is a truth known throughout all of history and all places. From Gandhi to Jefferson to Confucius to Martin Luther King Jr., to Socrates to Buddha to Mandela, Jesus of Nazareth, all understood that humbleness is the key to wisdom. And wisdom, not information or knowledge, is the ultimate goal of your education. So if you leave here humbled and grateful, if you leave here with the realization that you don't know everything, if you leave here with more questions than answers, well, then you have taken the hardest and most important step in becoming wise: humility. And that, whatever you choose to do for your future, that is a worthy accomplishment. For it is being humble that makes for wisdom. It is purposeful living which gives meaning to life. So thank you for allowing me to share my life with yours. And congratulations on what you've accomplished these past 18 years. Enjoy and cherish this moment. Your future, well, your future is yours. Thank you.